Organizations are facing more and more challenges from the world at large, from technology changing, from information overload, from the economic conditions that we're dealing with. The economic conditions change regularly. We're looking ahead in Australia at times that may or may not be as good as the last 10 years have been for us. So there is a lot of need to change in organizations. The technology is forcing people to change the way that they behave, the way they work, where they work. And we know that change creates stress. And this stress can lead to sickness, it can lead to absenteeism, it can lead to people not committing as much as they could to their work and being as engaged. And we know that leaders have a big impact on that because emotions are contagious. If the leader is stressed and the leader is short-tempered and not dealing well himself or herself with the stress, then it cascades down to the employees that work for them. So we really wanted to understand by doing some research into what successful executive women do, and also not-for-profit leaders who work in some stressful situations, the women trying to balance home and life perhaps a little bit more than the men do, and the not-for-profit leaders trying to manage the challenges of usually low cash flow, difficulty raising money to deliver the purpose of their organizations. So we studied these groups to find out, how do they stay resilient, how do they stay focused? And what we found from the successful women is that they're really optimistic, they're very self-confident, they're very curious. They're curious about what change means for themselves, for their organization, and they accept and challenge change. They enjoy that. They build their teams to be resilient, so they're really worried about the teams that work for them and how they're coping with change, how they're coping with their work-life balance, how they're getting things right, and are they working towards a long-term career goal. So they're really interested and empathetic with their employees from their whole life perspective, not just about work. So that's pretty important. The other thing that we learned from these women is that they're pretty funny. They have a good sense of humor. They enjoy what they do, and they can make a joke about themselves and the people that they work with. And that helps to lighten the tension that sometimes can arise in a stressful situation. So looking at our not-for-profit leaders, what we found from them is that they really have a strong sense of purpose and personal commitment to their organization. And this sense of purpose, again, it's contagious. They talk about it. They tell people and remind people why it's important to do the kind of work they do. They're continually selling the benefits of working with their organization and understanding the strengths and weaknesses of working in such an environment. They encourage people to continue on when perhaps the funding is not what it should be, or the disasters take more resources than they have. So from studying both of these groups, we've really learned self-confidence is important. And even if we're dealing in times of ambiguity and constant change, having confidence in yourself, in your organization, having a sense of humor about yourself, being optimistic about the future and the differences that people can make, all these things are in common for both of the groups that we studied. So organizations that are facing lots of change and stress, as most of us are, really need to think about what can we learn from these leaders and help our own leaders to be more resilient looking into the future.